Well, hi guys, welcome. And who dat? I'm Joe. Thanks for tuning in to Rosenfield 10, where I cover our beloved Bless You Boys in black and gold, the New Orleans Saints. Are you a Who Dat fan? If you're a Who Dat fan, subscribe to my channel. I love the Saints as much as you do. Think of me as a friend or a coworker, a fellow fan, and part of the Who Dat Nation who loves to talk about the Saints. You like hearing about the Saints. Put me in your subscriptions when you see one of my videos. You get to hear what I'm thinking, and then you tell me what you think in the comments. I respond to my comments. And today we're going to take a further look at the New Orleans Saints roster post draft. We have some undrafted free agents that we still have to tend to. So there's going to be more rookies added to the list. But for right now, we're going to take a look at our new offense and our new defense. And we're going to talk about the questions that remain, especially on defense. So this is it. We get the roster now. We get to see what these new draft picks add to the picture. And I'm the channel you go to if you want to see it all. People will break it down and they won't show it to you. They treat every YouTube broadcast as a podcast. And that's not how I operate here. It's the main reason I have a channel. Let's take a look at the roster now. Let's see what's going on. And when we talk about it, we can look at it as well. And here it is. We're going to start with the offense. The offense got an injection through free agency and through the draft. And Tyler Shuck is going to have a lot of new toys to play with. We're going to talk about some questions that may remain on the offense, but as it stands right now, that looks pretty good to me. Really good. We start at the quarterback position. I don't know if you guys have been watching the UFL, but Hunter Deckers, a guy that was on our practice squad on and off last year, a guy that I factored to be our number three quarterback in training camp this year. He's getting the opportunity to play with the Houston Gamblers. And Hunter Deckers isn't doing very well. Uh, I've seen the other two quarterbacks on Houston's roster get starting time, and Deckers was healthy. So I think initially they may have been wanting to go with one. They were struggling. They put in Deckers. They did a little bit better, but overall they were unimpressed with Deckers. And by I think the second or third game, they had went back to the other quarterback. Maybe the first one was hurt, and then they went to the third one. However, it worked out. This week, Hunter Deckers finally got a chance to play again, and yeah, he just looks okay. It's like that's a practice squad guy, but I don't think that's a guy you really want coming into the game. Zach Wilson, on the other hand, being a former first round draft pick, is an emergency quarterback that would give you a heck of a lot more in a pinch. So when evaluating the offense, I have to say that out of the gate, it's something that I've noticed and I have to tell you guys about it. Hunter Deckers might be a practice squad guy, but right now he can't even maintain a job in the other league. So say what you want about Zach Wilson. I think it's an upgrade at the third quarterback position, and we're gonna have three. People talk about trading Spencer Rattler, and it sounds great if somebody's willing to give you a nice draft pick for him. But if you do that, yeah, then you're looking at a guy like Hunter Deckers or something as your number three, and yeah, injuries can derail a team for sure. So offense, check on the quarterback situation. We have upgraded from Jake Hayner and Hunter Deckers to Zach Wilson. I think that's obvious. As far as Shuck goes, yeah, we've got our quarterback of the future. I'm hoping that he looks as good as he looked when he had his chance to play. It's one of those things I'm not too worried about Shuck having a really bad sophomore slump, something like that. I don't know. I just saw so much good stuff from Shuck that I feel like even in his worst, He's still producing on third downs and long and late in games, and it just seems like I don't worry too much about him. There's that caveat though. At running back, no, we didn't get one in the draft, but we sure did get a really good one in the free agency. And so Travis Achan is going to be our guy. The question on offense, the biggest question probably on offense is Alvin Kamara going to play another year? What's going to happen to his contract? How's that going to work out? If Alvin Kamara remains on the team this year, and you have Travis Achan and Alvin Kamara, you're doing really good. Now, Kamara doesn't seem to fit with that inside zone stuff or that inside gap stuff, whatever it is between the tackles that Kellen Moore likes to do. Seems like something Achan can do well. So I don't know. We're going to have to see. Having Kamara is great. Having him fit in this offense is still something I've yet to see. His production last year with Kellen Moore was just abysmal. So you've got that to worry about. Another question is whether Kendre Miller is going to stay healthy or not. And everyone knows he's a great player when healthy. It's a shame that now he's going to be going into year two under Kellen Moore's scheme, but yet he doesn't have a lot of snaps because he couldn't stay healthy. Yeah, so I absolutely love Devin Neal and I love Estime, Aldrich Estime. So whatever the issue is with Estime, I know he's slow. I know. I see everything that would be an issue, that we can see as fans. I see it. There's got to be something else that we don't see as fans that's an issue. For this guy to remain at the bottom of depth charts, is it really that he's just not explosive? Because that 30-yard run he ripped off last year was the biggest run we've had by a running back in like 4 or 5 years. 4 or 5 years ago, AK was still a hell of a lot more explosive. So I love Audric Estime. Think of our Super Bowl team. I think of Audric Estime, Mike Bell. We got the Mike Bell. And then I think of Pierre Thomas, Devin Neal. We've got the Pierre Thomas. Now, what about Achan? Can he be the Reggie Bush? Reggie Bush was a special guy, and you know where Reggie Bush would excel way more over an Achan. Achan does the other stuff way better than Reggie Bush. Achan's certainly a more complete back with the ability to run between the tackles. Reggie Bush didn't exhibit that. Reggie Bush was an explosion waiting to happen. And a lot of times it was Dancing with the Stars. But yeah, I'm excited about Achan. Got to keep bringing up these free agents because as good as the draft has been to us last year, and it seems like this year, yeah, that free agency market is still something we've yet to see on this team, and I'm excited about it. So, no running back in the draft, no problem for me. You got Ty Chandler and Evan Hall rounding out the running back room, and Ty Chandler has return ability. We've got a lot of guys on this roster that's going to compete for that job. Yes, indeed. So, wide receiver. Wow, we go and get Jordan Tyson. What a stud. If he is healthy, what a stud. What a great wide receiver. Super wide receiver. I can't wait to see him play. I can't wait to see what he does in this offense. I can't wait to see how Tyson and Chris Olave will help each other get open. The defense is just going to have to go straight up. They can't really shadow anything, so it's going to be interesting. Chris Olave is a separation genius, and uh, Jordan Tyson is one of the best separators in this draft class. That's one thing he's got going for him. And almost nobody's as good as Olave. Olave gets open so fast, just about every route he runs. And Tyson is a physical dude that can get open. So then you got Devon Vele. If this man stays healthy, I still think he's a starting caliber wide receiver. On this team with Tyler Shuck, that's what he was exhibiting before he got hurt. And then have Devon Vele. there as a big guy opposite Chris Olave. You've got Jordan Tyson at 6'2". That's going to be a big guy opposite Chris Olave. And Chris Olave having his best year ever with Tyler Shuck as quarterback. So it's pretty exciting, but it doesn't end there because we end up getting Bryce Lance in the draft with one of our late fourth round picks. Those fourth round picks were awful to me. I always struggled with those picks. I always found good players, but I struggled because that's the part of the draft where everything kind of just fell off a cliff, and a lot of teams were reaching. Check out Jacksonville's draft if you want to see a team that reached this year. Whew. But with the Saints, we went super value. I mean, I love getting right at guard with the first fourth round pick. And with the second fourth round pick, you're getting a wide receiver in this deep class that would have been a second or third round guy in a lot of drafts, I think. You got to see if he's up to snuff in the league, but this could be the steal of the draft. If you get a guy like Bryce, you might end up with Chris Olave playing second and third wide receiver with Jordan Tyson and Bryce Lance. If they can reach what their potential is, and to get Bryce Lance at the end of the fourth round is perfect. The guy has a lot to prove. He has so much ability. I mean, if this is a bust, I just don't see how it could be because he's so talented. But if it's a bust, it's a late fourth round gamble. And man, at this point on this team, I factor Bryce Lance to be number 5 on the team. If Jalen Polk plays up to his second round draft billing, then man, that's 5 strong right there. Chris Olave, Jordan Tyson, Devon Vele, Jalen Polk, and Bryce Lance. And I bet a lot of Saints fans feel like Lance is more talented than Polk as it is. I mean, we have to see. We have to see how it all works out. And you can see the remaining wide receiver room full of the guys that, they're either going to be number 6 on the active roster or they're going to be on the practice squad. And that's where most of those guys belong. But you have a lot of bodies at wide receiver to figure out. Trey Palmer could earn that number 6 spot if he turns into a punt returner for this team. We've got some players that can kick return now. Barry and Brown has a spot on this depth chart of mine pretty high because I feel like his return ability is going to solidify him a place. We have to wait and see. I mean, mercy. We're going to have us a competition at special teams this year. Tight end, we get Oscar Delp, and now that tight end room looks so much better with Oscar Delp as our number 3 guy. I don't know who our number 4 guy is going to be. Mitchell Payton's a great run blocker, and Braden Welch is a good receiver. And then you got this coaching staff's draft pick, Maliki Mataval, a 7th round pick, but a guy with size and speed. So now you've got a competition for that number 4 spot, and that's the way a group of players like this should be. A couple of these guys on the practice squad, one of them make it to the active roster, especially if you're good at special teams or run blocking or something like that. Yeah, much better, feel much better about the tight end room. Oscar Delp in the 3rd round was right around the area where he should have got picked. And there's players there that I wanted more at positions of need that may have been more important than the 3rd tight end. But the player's really good. I'm excited. And in the offensive line, of course, having Noah Fant at tight end in free agency is great. This offensive line looks totally different now with David Edwards from free agency. Then you have a backup in Dylan Reduns who started half the year for us last year. And I felt like you needed one more guy. I wanted a guy that could push Cesar Ruiz, and we draft one in the 4th round in Jeremiah Wright. He's a better run blocker than Ruiz out of the gate, probably. So if he can show a lot in pass protection, there may be a competition for that starting right guard gig. That would be something special. But anything else? I mean, if Wright still has to work on stuff, and if anything else, Dylan Reduns is there. in case there's an injury. And now Torricelli Simpkins perhaps can focus on backup center because that is a position we did not address. Biggest question on the offense is who's going to play backup center. You have Nick Saldiveri, who's done it. You've got Torricelli Simpkins, who this coaching staff was interested in him learning it. He got some time at it in preseason last year. And then we immediately went and got other options for backup center. And Simpkins never had to play it again. Now that's something to keep in mind. But there are bodies here that can do it. Torricelli Simpkins and Nick Saldiveri could be backup center for this team. I really hope we address it in some other way. I'll be doing a video very shortly about the undrafted rookie free agents that we're signing. As of right now, I don't think we've gotten a center. So that's your new look offense, and it looks great. Having Noah Fant, Juwan Johnson, and Oscar Delp three deep at tight end means we can run a variation of formations. And if we decide to go four wide, we've got a lot of options at wide receiver now. I don't think we're going to get a wide receiver as an undrafted guy because we have 14 players in the room right now, and you're only going to carry six at the most, and maybe two on your practice squad. So super competition. You add three more wide receivers to this room after the draft, and now I think our concerns about wide receiver are lessened. Offensive line, that's the biggest issue. Backup center, I'd like to see something there. All right, let's pull up the real big issue on the team, and that is at defense. That's where the biggest questions still remain. Defensive questions remain. A lot of them. Starting with star slash nickel. Who's going to play it? Well, we addressed it a few times in the draft, perhaps, with cornerback TJ Hall and safety Lorenzo Styles Jr. Perhaps one of them can play the nickel. And then perhaps there's a nickel already on the team. I'm going to talk about the DBs first when it comes to the questions about the defense. If you want your star or nickel to be a cornerback listed here on my chart, you're talking about either Kool-Aid McKinstry or Quincy Riley. That means somebody else has to step up as an outside guy. And your number three on the chart right now is Isaac Yiadom, who perhaps could be in consideration for the star as well. I don't like that. I think the talent level's too low to be moving one of our cornerbacks to star. We just don't have the depth on the outside. I like the addition of TJ Hall in the seventh round. Great. I think Rajon Wright is a guy that's competing for an outside spot too. And then you've got Price and Beenum, who were undrafted guys last year that stayed on this team. They're still here, and they looked pretty good in preseason last year. So I'm not going to forget about those guys. And you've also got Beanie Bishop, who could probably play safety, and he definitely plays nickel. So there's a spot there. That guy can occupy that spot there. But yeah, I'm thinking in free agency, you go and get a starting caliber outside cornerback. That might make me feel better. You don't have to spend a lot of money. I mean, Jesus, the Steelers paid uh, Asante Samuel Jr. $4 million. I thought that guy played pretty good with Brandon Staley when he was with the Chargers. So if we can go get a guy for $4 million, yeah, let's go do it. And I feel so much better about the outside cornerback situation, especially if you want to move one of them to star. I don't think that's going to happen, though. The team prefers to have a safety at the star. Alontae Taylor got a job making $20 million a year. Well, we're not going to pay a guy $20 million to play the star, but you're also not just going to put somebody in there that's never done it before and expect the production you got from Taylor. So perhaps Taylor was a $15 million a year guy with the production that he had at the star. I just don't know if you're going to get that production. I don't think you have anyone on the team that has shown in the NFL that they're going to produce as good as Alontae Taylor. That's just the facts. That's a factual statement. So, yeah, maybe Jonas Sanker slides in there and he does great. He hadn't shown it yet and that he could do it in the league. Not as good as Taylor. Same thing with all the other cornerbacks, but then Julian Blackmon's another option at safety that can play the nickel star with that shoulder. I don't think so. That's to me, whatever. I mean, and if it happens and he's really good at it, great. Oh, he's got two shoulders, right? So, okay, but and you got Justin Reed who can flex as a safety. Maybe he can do it too. And then there's Elliot Davison who was an undrafted guy. Maybe he can do it. Terrell Burgess was a re-signing that I know can play the nickel, and that's definitely one of our backups in a pinch. And then we go and get Lorenzo Styles Jr., and that guy to me is going to be a special teams ace. And I love it. I love it. And then what he can do as a safety, especially deep, I'm thinking is exciting. In the box, I don't know. He's kind of light. We're going to put him in the box in training camp and see what happens. Maybe Styles is the nickel that we're looking for. And then you get TJ Hall, who's cornerback here now. I've got him listed number 4. Maybe Wright and him would be a 4 and 5. And maybe Hall can do the nickel. Maybe. He's big. He's a good tackler. He would get beat with fast guys. Sanker might get beat with fast guys too. So, but we like to be big there to stop the run. We like to be big to match up against tight ends. So maybe Hall was a guy the Saints knew they could get all along, and maybe he was an ideal guy. And we did get an undrafted rookie, and I'll do a video about those guys later. But we did get an undrafted guy who specializes at nickel. So yeah, we're still adding. So that's the biggest question about the defense. Who's going to play nickel? Maybe the answer's already there, but until I get a good enough sample size to answer that question for myself, I don't know what the Saints think. So that's the biggest question to me. Defensive line, we had Christian Miller, and that is great. We were missing a piece on the defensive line, Jonathan Bullard. That's what we were missing from last year, and that was a piece that I thought we needed. We needed another guy besides Shepard and Broughton that could be good against the run and fill a spot on the line. And with Bullard, it was great. Broughton ends up getting hurt, and Bullard has to play a lot of those rotational snaps. It was Shepard, it was Bullard, it was Bresee, and it was needed. Uh, Broughton's available this year. And now we go and get Christian Miller. So we don't re-sign Jonathan Bullard. Instead, we bring in Christian Miller. And yeah, I'm excited. Miller is a more talented player than Vernon Broughton. Vernon Broughton is a third round guy who was probably a bit of a reach. Our coaching staff is sold on what Broughton can do. And when you look at this depth chart, yeah, I'm looking at Miller and Broughton as defensive ends just as much as that nose tackle. The only place Christian Boyd's playing is at nose tackle. So I've got Davin Godchaw and Christian Boyd as your primary nose tackles. Your third guy, John Ridgeway, can be an end or a nose tackle. So can Vernon Broughton and Christian Miller. And I've got the means to put Miller as a starter here. And then Shepard is just going to be the rotational guy. Broughton and Miller being your starters. Shepard as a rotational guy and Bresee on passing downs. And then, yeah, you got a lot of people that can fill in that nose tackle spot besides Boyd. Ridgeway can do it. Miller can do it. Broughton can do it. So just getting that one more piece is what we really needed in the front defensive line. And Miller's a stud. People are dismissing. I saw Trace do his grading every pick, and he graded the Oscar Delp pick an A, and he graded the Christian Miller pick a B minus. And I'm thinking, what are you talking about? Yeah, it's an A grab for your third tight end and dealt. Sure, but Christian Miller is a stud. This guy's a dog. He's a literal dog. He's a great player. I can't wait to see how disruptive he is. I hope that this hits because, for my ego too, because I've been pushing this guy forever. And when you see Georgia play, it's not like Christian Miller's leaping off the tape. They keep putting him at nose tackle. That's the issue. Well, he could do it, but whenever he's double teamed, he's, he ends up being that typical, well, I hope you can just block the gap. And he's way more than a big old guy, just heavy blocking the gap. He's a fighter. So yeah, it's tough. Miller's got to work on getting through double teams, which is something that I think, he's more built to put on the end and let him go one on one with somebody and dominate that dude. And I think that's why he doesn't have those great stats. Georgia was just playing him at the nose a lot. So anyway, really excited about the defensive line now with the addition of Miller, as you can tell. To me, Miller is a upgrade from Shepard. As it is, Miller's taking uh, Bullard's place since we don't have Bullard anymore. And if you have a healthy Broughton this year, then yeah, your line's looking way better than last year. So I'm excited about that. The only questions we have about the defensive line is how good is Miller going to be? How good is Broughton going to be? And how much better can Brissy be in this defense? He got a little better at run defense last year. His pass rush was gone. He affected plays, sure, but this adjustment to the new defense from Dennis Allen's defense to Brandon Staley's defense is taking Brissy some time. So those are the questions at defensive line. How good are those three guys really? Because on paper right now, having Vernon Broughton, Christian Miller, and Brian Brissy, man, we should be able to rock and roll. Yeah, so we'll see. And at linebacker, we didn't add anybody yet, and I didn't think it was a necessity for us to do it. Oh, I'm forgetting about edge rusher here. People consider edge rusher defensive line. I consider edge rusher part of the linebacking crew. Our fifth round pick that we traded away for our new player and Tyree Wilson. And I think the Raiders were playing him at defensive end, and we're going to play him at stand up outside linebacker. And I'm hoping that he takes Cam Jordan's place. Seventh overall pick in the 2023 draft. Wilson's got a lot of ability, and he showed he can be versatile on the defensive line with his hand in the dirt. But we're going to stand him up in this defense. That's what Brandon Staley wanted to do. Also, we got some pass rushers that can play edge as rookie undrafted guys. When I do that video of mine, I'll talk about them. And by the way, they're all big. It's kind of funny, but everyone keeps saying we want to get smaller at edge rusher. No, we want to get faster, more athletic, but I don't think Brandon Staley's interested in going at a small guy. The only small guy that he's brought in here so far, Fadil Diggs and Chris Rumph. Everybody else is 260 or heavier, including the undrafted guys we got, including Tyree Wilson, who's 262 or 263 right now. I'm telling you, we need bigger edges. We don't need a 240-pound edge that can't hold up against the run. Brandon Staley wants to hold up against the run. His best player in his defense at that edge was a 268-pound guy in Khalil Mack. And that's what he wants, and that's what he got with Wilson. And I think it's going to be nice. You have Grando and Chase Young starting, and now you've got Wilson as your primary rotational piece with a lot of ability to get in and out of there. It's about the best you can expect if you weren't going to draft an edge early in the draft. The best you can expect is a rotational piece that's going to have an effect when he's in there. Cam Jordan had a major effect. So now we're going to see if Tyree Wilson can have that effect. And you've got Chris Rump and Fadil Diggs rounding out the group. I think at edge rusher, you're looking good. Linebacker, you didn't add anything. You don't need to. we got to keep in mind that Caden Ellis is going to be a situational pass rusher as well. So when you look at Fadil Diggs and Chris Rumph as your number 4 and number 5 pass rusher, you got to add Caden Ellis into the mix as well. When you think about Wilson as that third rotational piece, you got to add Caden Ellis in there as well. We're going to have Caden Ellis out there doing that. So your biggest questions on the second level, how good is your pass rush going to be without Cam Jordan? I think Carl Granderson is going to be better than he was last year. I think Grando's going to play better this year. And I think if Chase Young stays healthy, he'll be the best defensive player on the team and he'll get all the accolades. And yeah, how good is the rest of the pass rush after Grando and Chase Young? Wilson, can we survive without Cam Jordan? Those are your questions there. How good is Caden Ellis? And how much are we going to miss Demario Davis? You're going to miss Demario Davis. You're not going to get probably Pro Bowl caliber play from your middle linebackers without Demario Davis. But I do like the room. I love the idea of giving Danny Stutzman more playing time, giving Isaiah Stallbird more playing time, and also having Caden Ellis there. And Pete Werner's Pete Werner. He's a good starter. When you start worrying about Pete Werner as your starter, then you've got everything else on defense taken care of. So your biggest questions on defense, how good are those guys in the front line really going to be? Do you have enough at the edge without Cam Jordan to be effective like you were last year? How bad are you going to miss Demario Davis? Do you have enough pieces there where we're not going to hurt too bad? And your secondary is where the biggest questions lie. Who's going to be your star? How good is he? Can he possibly play as good as Alante Taylor? There you go. I'm not going to talk about special teams. We got Ryan Wright as a punter, and that's exciting. We got an undrafted punter coming in too to provide some help with leg during the training camp. Wright's going to win the job, of course, and we have an extra kicker as well. Dallas is our the Texas Longhorns kicker is part of that undrafted class, and he's going to be there to push Charlie Smith, but Charlie Smith's probably going to win this job out. Charlie Smith, man, what a story! And if that guy is our starter, come the beginning of the year, it's another chapter in that story we're going to write, and it's going to be great. So there you go. That is the offense and the defense. The biggest questions we have remaining after the draft. Subscribe to Rosenfield 10 because I will be doing a video breaking down all of our undrafted rookie free agents that we've signed. We can sign up to 16 of them, plus we have camp invites. Subscribe and you'll get a breakdown of all of that pretty soon. I'm Joe, and until the next one, I'll talk to you later. Who dat?